Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's knowledge session. As we are all familiar, we are doing a menstrual health series, right? And today is our fourth series of that, right? So, here is what I wanted to understand from each one of us, right? In our previous session, we have understood, what are the myths about menstrual cycle, which you know takes us through a journey of hating a menstrual cycle itself, right? Because we felt that, oh, this ritual is not helping me, or that is something unhealthy, or this is something causing emotional trauma to me, right? When we understood the knowledge behind that kind of a ritual, I think things started becoming much better, right? So I think knowing why really helps us make peace with what we are doing without knowing. Agree? Agree? Otherwise, it would be like, I hate it, but then I still have to do it because I have been told to do it, which really didn't help any one of us during the whole process. So now, today, we are going to understand how we all went through different phases of transition when it came to our menstrual cycle, right? So we all had different sets of, you know, like not too many of us have still regular periods. Of course, there are a couple of us. There are a couple of us who don't have. But then there is a menstrual history for all of us, yeah, whoever it is. So now I want to share my own menstrual history so that we will also hear from each one of you what it was for you, right? So when as you all know, in the initial sessions only, I've shared when I had attained my menarche, I was you know much aware of how to deal with it, and the celebration happened. Along with that, there was also environment where I had been told that, oh, it is very painful and you will struggle a lot, and then you will have to stop doing a lot of things because you have attained it. So having said that, I had, after that I had my regular periods every 23 days, okay, on dot. And the other thing is every 23 day, and I would have a bleeding for 8 days, okay. Every cycle I would have bleeding anywhere between 5 to 8 days, okay. I really didn't know. I had also accepted that, okay, 8 days normal because that is normal for me. And I had also had a family history where, my mom would have that 8 days of bleeding. So for me, that was normal. Okay. But then I never got curious that why different people get different number of days of their bleeding, right? So, having said that, I think when I was in the late 30s, okay, so that is when I started having, you know, irregularity in my menstrual cycle, right? So, when I was in my late 30s, okay, so now when I had my irregularity in cycles, what I really did is I hopped from one gynecologist to another, okay. And then what they would recommend was oral contraceptives, right? So when I took oral contraceptive in the first time, then my periods got back to normal, because the reason was that, there was an endometrial thickening that was happening, which led to, heavy bleeding for long time, right? I'm sure everybody has gone through this experience, but we hardly talk openly about these, right? So when I had that, I think I had a whole month of bleeding, which was loaded with clots. And every 2 hours I used to change my pads, because That severe was the bleeding. I'm sure many of you can relate to this, right? So when that happened, I went from gynecologist to gynecologist. They would say, you make lifestyle changes, you eat nutritious food, and then you take this pill till your bleeding normalizes, right? So when I had that, there was a pause tablet. I don't know if you are aware of it. So they give you pause, which will stop your bleeding in 3 to 5 days. After that, you're on an oral contraceptive pill for 21 days. Then you stop it. The next day, you will have your period. I'm sure everybody's experienced this, at different stages of your life, for whatever age it is, very specific to person. Now when I did that for the first time, then what happened, my bleeding stopped, and then I started having regular periods back. Okay. And what I started noticing is that my clots were so heavy, and it used to be very painful, right? If you cough, you would have clots coming out, and your pad would just flow. Then, once I started on the oral contraceptive pill, I think I was recommended to take it for 3 months. Then I would have my normal cycles, and initially it went on for 2 years, like that. I took one set of medication, and then my periods normalized for 2 years. And then after 2 years, again I had the same issue. Okay, so then the same treatment line, you undergo ultrasound scanning, and then see how thick is your endometrial lining. Then you go through the same pause, and then oral contraceptive pill, and then you have this. So I did that for 2 cycles. Okay. Then I realized, there's something that is missing, which is not helping me, because, like, if it took 2 years to normalize. Then the next year it was 1 year, right? In between, I would have this 23-day cycle, and then 8 days of bleeding. That still continued. Then I had this feeling that there needs to be something else, because every time you can't repeat the same thing and then feel that, oh, I'm going to be fine someday, right? Because rather than blaming a gynecologist or the doctors that whom I visited, I took it as a responsibility to take care of my health is my biggest responsibility, right? So then I started exploring what is really impacting, right? Because I had the healthiest lifestyle. You know, I had a healthiest diet. I would do everyday workout, or I would do every day some form of a physical activity. And I have been always a very active person, right? So mentally, I was working, I was practicing things for my own self, I was nourishing well, I had a good emotional health, everything taken care, right? And I was not overweight or I was not underweight. I had a good eating habit, I had a great discipline. Everything said and done, I went through a surprise that why is that my body reacting this way? Okay. So now, before we move forward, I want to hear from each one of you. How was your experience? Did you ever go through anything, any of such things? If so, what was that, that really helped you? Yes, Sujata, go ahead.
Yes, means I have started on means in eighth grade. My periods they were normal, and I was having severe lower back pain always, always. It was there only. So my niece and I was always discussing that I feel that part should be kept aside somewhere. That much feeling was there, and headache, migraine would be there on every before periods. I would be having slightly headache start, and then after that means flow started, then it will slow down. It will means decrease the headache, and then after the periods, I would be fine. So 28 days cycle was there, but in 30s, yes, as you said, now in 35, after 35, I think, uh, that period was coming on dot at on 28 days, but the bleeding was not starting. It was I was feeling that it is there, but still it was not starting. It has some days it was started three on third day. Later it was started on fourth, and then the fifth. I was getting frustrated, so we went to the doctor also, and he said everything is normal. You take this tablet, that tablet, and means he was a he is a Ayurveda doctor. So he gave me some kasha kadha. So he was telling me, you take this one, then you will have that on second day. But still, it was not happening. Then I started thinking, what is happening? And my emotional, I know I was not that good at time, and I was having low BP also, and migraine was to at least once a month. It was there. I was thinking, what is happening? Then I have started that happiness course, and then I was taking the yoga classes also. Then gradually it came. It's on regular basis. It was on regular basis, but the bleeding started at second or the first in the evening. If it started in the morning, then the bleeding will start in the evening or the next day. So now it is good. So yoga helped me. Thank you. And for from 4 to 6 months, I'm feeling that having that, but I'm not feeling that I'm having the periods. I'm not feeling that much lower back pain now. But before that, lower back pain was too horrible. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Sujata. One quick question, Sujata. So, how long you have been practicing yoga?
I'm now to more than 10 years, but still means I was going there for a class. Now I am doing my sadhana, my own sadhana. So I have started like that 5 years now. So now it is normal.
Good, good. So now, how is your emotional health over the last 1 year?
Last one, it is improved a lot. Means I can be aware that I am feeling this one. I am this emotion. This sentence is triggering me, or this emotion is triggering me. That I am becoming aware now. So, and I am telling also my husband, don't do this one. So I will be feel triggered. So don't bring that subject. Those types of things I'm getting aware of now. And I'm doing my, but if I feel too much, then I go in my room and then do meditation, do Brahmari pranayam or Omkara pranayam, some kind of pranayam. Then I feel normal.
Good, fantastic. So do you feel is there any connection between your emotional and then your overall menstrual health?
Yes, 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 Rashmi.
Thank you, Sujata. So of course, here it is not that one thing that helps, right? It is holistically everything needs to be brought in together, right? We'll continue conversation with you later, Sujata. Yes, Anita, please go ahead.
Uh, my menstruation, this cycle has started at my age of 13 when I am at 8th standard. Okay. In the beginning of 8th standard itself. So at that time, I'm aware of that because I was in my uncle's place where two elder sisters were there. So I am aware of that and curious to become a big girl like that at that time. And because they will celebrate like the celebrations will be happening, so many things will be happening. So at that age it was making me so happy, and so I wanted to become a girl so soon. And it happened at a 8th standard itself. uh, After that, in the beginning, I didn't had that much regular periods. It was so early, and I was getting in. uh, like 2 months once. Yeah, it happened like 60 days or 54 days once, like that it was happening. And it was a 5 day period cycle. After 6 months of period, the 6 months, yeah, after 6 months I got the regular periods. Like it is the 27-day 30-day cycle. It was like 5 day cycle. It was good. And when not much pain and all was there around 4 to 5 years after, when my pre means PUC and all started. I start having more pain, more backaches, leg pain, so many things happening when I was so stubborn on doing so many things. uh, I got into NCC and all. So there I would work in so many places week on week. So that at the end of that cycle, not actually end of the cycle, when I'm getting that cycle, I would be going through the pain and all. So when I got married after means post pregnancy and all, I used to go through so many emotional traumas and so many things, where I have started realizing I am having so much of pain on my back and my legs, and sometimes even in my stomach, where cannot say it out and going through silently. It was happening uh, at the age of 30, I believe. I was so heavy, and I became so heavy, and my periods was irregular. So at a point of time, I didn't get my periods at all, where I was literally got suspicious about me, where I got my pregnancy again and all, and I went to hospital, and I checked out. After that, I came to know that overweight can make your periods irregular, or can't come and all. So after that, I got relaxed, and then again, what happened? At that time, at my 30 or before and all, I used to do the walking or the exercises here and there. But after that time, I started doing my any one kind of workouts or exercises regularly. From that time, I'm so regular, and even though I'm doing that workouts or anything, any kind of physical activities, what I'm doing, I have come to an extent that, as I shared earlier, I'll be having a thirsty kind of feeling all over the day for the first day. I used to drink a lot of water and go use the washroom again and again. That was my pattern. Uh, After my 35, 36, sometimes I used to, some months I used to sleep all over the day, from after my breakfast, after my lunch, after my um, means evening, also in the evening, and also in the night I used to sleep. In that 24 hours, 20 more than 20 hours I was sleeping for 2 days. So that was the thing I came across. After that, it was like, means before joining the tribe, my cycle was like drinking the water and all over the day, and going and using the restrooms and all. So after joining the tribe, it was like, when it started supporting me emotionally. I don't know how it worked, because I'm not aware of that it's working with me emotionally, or these things. After that, it reduced, the pains and all got reduced month on month. It was like, why it is not that much means periods means it's a painful thing, no? Why I'm not getting that pain and all? And nowadays it has become like, as you said, no, like migraine and all, I don't go through, because if anything go to my head, means I'll just bite it off and spit it out, and just I'll go forward. That was me before. Now it is like thinking something, maybe getting into the periods means I'll get the pricking headache for some time, and then as you said, where as Sujata shared, when I get my periods in half an hour or 1 hour, it will be off. And nowadays, past 6 months and all, I don't even get that headache even. I'm just be aware of my dates only. I have marked in the calendars, and I'll check, is that the date? I should plan around it. I should plan around it. I'm checking the date. So now it's a pain-free periods. I'm so happy about that, because it's like a very normal day for anything. So that is my history of the menstrual cycle.
Thank you, Anita. Big round of applause to you. Thank you for sharing. Yes, Suchi ma'am.
I'm trying to recollect what is happening when I'm hearing to all of you and trying to figure out what I think I might have, I'll miss many things, I'm sure. I think I started my period sometime in maybe in the ninth standard, early ninth or anything. I can't even remember it properly because there's no celebrations or anything like that. And didn't even have any um, uh, my mom, like my biological mom is not there, so my other mom, I do call her mummy and all that, but I think there was no way that it was explained or anything like that, and it was more like I had to face whatever it was, and my grandmother also was there, supportive, but I didn't go to school for some 3 or 5 days. And when I went to school, I was sent to the principal's office, HM's office, and there she said, "Why did you not come? And you're very irregular to school." Like not even my headmistress, who was a woman, she also was not able to understand or ask, and we were not even told you can go and tell this that you got your periods and nothing like that. No? So it was just like I think it was like no awareness that it will happen every month, like that kind of a thing it was. So anyway, uh, I think you just have to go through it, and whenever it came, many times I didn't even know when I will get or any of those kind of things initially, but somehow we learned on our own what it will be and things like that, and not painful or anything in the initial years, and maybe sometimes in college some days it started where it was when we by the time I went to college, I think got a little more smarter to understand when to expect the periods and kind of those kind of things. So I think more and more awareness came as I grew up, as I own personal experience, because there was hardly any discussion. And if there was a, what do you say, even having pads also, no? There will be sometimes insufficient. So it was not even that I could go and ask, whom shall I ask? And if I go and ask my mom also, she'll say, even I need it, kind of a thing. So it was like, Ayo, I need the pads and I don't have pads. What do I do? Kind of it. I've gone through even those kind of dilemmas. And finally, yes, I had to figure out some things of maybe I should use a cloth and things like that. So though there was pads, there was not even a supportive system to say that there should be sufficient number of pads, so it was those kind of challenges also have gone through many years thing. Anyway, I think as I started working and I think then anyway, I think when I was in PUC or sometime in the 80s, I realized that if I need pads and I don't have them, I have access, the best is to go ask my father. Okay, so I started asking my father when they were in Mysore for a couple of years. So I said, okay, I'll go tell my dad I need pads. I need a packet of pads for my periods. So I think that was the first bold thing that I did for myself to say, I need pads, and who else will buy for me? Whether it is bought and kept or I need more, it's only my father who has to give me buy those. So I started asking my father, and I think it became a little more comfortable that at least I ensured I had enough stock of pads and things like that. At least ಅಷ್ಟಾರು ಮಾತಾಡಕ್ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದೆ. Anyway, it was before I got married. I think there was a time that I used to, with my periods, I even had an upset stomach. I think that was there sometimes. So that was like too challenging to have your periods, to have cramps, and to have loose motions. And which was like, I didn't even know how to handle it, whom to talk to. We never went to doctors or anything. We was not even married at those kind of times, you know. These are some of the very vivid memories that I can have. And I think as I got married and all that, then as I started working, I became a little more smart. I would carry pads, I would carry an extra this thing, and I would always keep looking out for um, how do you protect yourself from having staining your clothes, kind of a thing. So those days we used to get pads with a plastic lining, just this thing. So I was very thrilled that I could find something like that, and I started using those, which was more comfortable. So challenges could, where you don't know whom to talk to and you don't have anybody to talk to, and you're not even talking much to your friends about it or anything like that. Initial college days and all of that, it was just like that. Because sometimes, no, you'll think your periods. I remember, I think I was in my 10th standard and I didn't have bleeding at all for one whole day. So I thought my periods are over. And I go to school and I'm bleeding like crazy. And I don't know to go and ask my teachers. I didn't tell my friends, and luckily I used to wear divided skirts. Okay, so my whole skirt itself had an extra kind of a layer and all that. And those days I used to wear a sweater, so I just wore my sweater, which was quite long, and somehow protected myself and came back home. And Saturday was a half day. I remember, oh my God, what a trauma! That was one of my biggest trauma days, which I can remember. There was once more that it happened that we went to Shravana Bellagola and I ended up having my periods and climbing those stairs and everything again. And those days, uh, I was still in college. And we didn't even know that we could carry extra pads, we can change somewhere. These are all things which my own experience. I started using that when my daughters got their periods, and how I had to prepare them, and how I taught them that they can carry extra, they carry a paper, they do whatever. And luckily, my daughter did go to a girls' college, school, and there was all the awareness, and they could go and ask in their office, if you have periods, you can come and take a Christian school, but uh, they could go and ask and get support. So I think that was much more evolved than what it was when we were in school. So really difficult times I've gone through with my periods, very bad accidents and very thing. So it's that is thing. Anyway, coming to this thing, I think I had my hysterectomy when I was 41. So it's almost 2005 that was. So it's almost going to be, it's 19 years plus. It was in August that we went through. So 2 days before me, my sister got her hysterectomy done, and my hysterectomy happened 2 days late. I think it was August 16th or 17th of 2005. That is thing. So it became irregular after at one point, and I think the before I got my hysterectomy done, I think about 3 years, at least 2 to 3 years, it started getting very irregular. And I wouldn't have periods for 45 days, 50 days. Then I go to the doctor, then she gives me one tablet, Deviri or something, and then I get my periods. And then sometimes it will not stop. Then I have to take pause MF, and then it will stop, kind of a thing. And during that was the time when my daughter was going through a lot of health issues, like she became epileptic and lots of issues with all of that. So I think that was that it started, yeah, because 2007 she passed away, and it was almost 5 years. So this happened within the first. Uh, my surgery happened 1.5 years before she passed away. Okay, a little, yeah, around 1.5 years before she passed away. So 5 years was her period of what sufferings that she went through. So I think emotionally it was very I think challenging. I think the first time that I got my periods all of a sudden in 15 days was when she was admitted as an emergency into Ramaya Medical Hospital. And that happened in the hospital. I suddenly get my periods, and I'm like, it's just not even 10 or 12 days since I had my period, and I think that was the first time it started off. So that must have been mm, 2003, I think. Yeah, 2003, Rebecca, 3 or 3 end or something like that. So then it started all this whole thing of irregularity and all those things. There used to be pain sometimes, but then I slowly, when I started learning acupressure and all that, and I used to give all the acupressure points to my hand and all that, it sort of became less painful. So that was really good. So it was a proper 28-day cycle. But about 2 years before my 1.5, 2 years before I got my hysterectomy done, it became very erratic. And in 2005, when I had to get my thing done, uh, same 45 days or 50 days or 2 3 months I had not got my periods, and doctor gave me this tablet Deviry, and that was like, I still think I remember it so well because it was like it played like a devil on my body, you know? I had so much of bleeding, so much of bleeding, and it was just not stopping. And I remember one of my colleagues had got had met with an accident and was in what is that place, mm, Hosmat, and I had my periods. From the time I went from um, my house to her place to the hospital, I was like, my whole head was, you were using a tampon also, but my pad was soaked by the time I went there. So that was like less than 2 hours of having had changed a pad. So that used to be really difficult. Then in the month of August, I think I went on the 12th or 13th to doctor. 12th, I went by myself. After that, to the hospital, I went there. Then I said, this is too much of bleeding. And I went to the doctor. She said, you're having, it's too thing. I think it's better that you get a surgery done. And we've already tried so many cycles of tablets and things like that. And I think it's not going to be this thing. So I went through all the tests and everything, and she put me on a tablet, and she said it was not pause MF, it was one more tablet. I can't remember that now. And she said, until I take you in for surgery, you should take this tablet because this is like too much. It's not stopping. So I think even it stopped with that tablet, but I think even on my day of surgery, it again started spotting. Okay, so anyway, I was glad that my hysterectomy is happening, and I had to take it out. So there's lots of trauma, lots of tensions about my daughter's health and things like that because she became epileptic, and epilepsy is something which is unpredictable. It was very difficult. Her own health, she used to have severe headaches, and she had a fall, and so many things happening. So I think that was one of the most traumatic period that we were going through at that time, with her health being bad. There were other things with my husband's career happening at that time. So it was emotionally, it was something very, very challenging. And when I wouldn't get my periods, I used to have such heavy legs, heavy stomach, full body used to feel very heavy. I think when I was feeling that, and one day when I said, Abba, why my legs are paining so much? And I just pulled up my night dress. I could see like I still remember Geeta telling, oh, why are your legs so fat? Because my legs would never be so much fat or anything. It was like bloated and very fat. It had bloated so badly. So I think that was when I really seriously understood that this thing of periods getting irregular. So I think 41 when I got it. So I think around 37, 38, it sort of started, I think, all this irregularity. And uh, because I was in the field, I could at least talk to the doctors and ask some questions and things like that. But emotionally, you don't have anybody, and you don't have your mother to tell you any of your her experiences, or to understand how the family history runs or anything. And my sister also was going through the same thing, and her surgery happened 2 days before mine. So it was like both of us. She was 43 and I was 41, and we just had our hysterectomies. She got it done in the US, and I was, of course, here, and we got it done. And of course, she went off to into after her surgery. 6 months later, she started training for running, and that's how she became a regular runner and participated in marathons and things like that. But then I had lots of other things, because even as I was in the bed in the hospital, my daughter had her first generalized seizure attack, and it was quite a big challenge because I couldn't take her to the hospital. So lying on my hospital bed, I had to make arrangements, talk to the doctors and things like that, because she was on anti-epileptics, which had been stopped for about 6 months or 4 months, and I had not gone back for a follow-up, uh, though the doctor herself had weaned it off. And when I called her to say this has happened, the doctor was so mad. She said, "You're not come for follow-up, I'm not going to see," and things like that. So I had to really find a doctor. And of course, because I knew other doctors, I called up and got a referral for a doctor in St. John's Medical College. So she went there, and all of those things. I organized her for her to go with Geeta and all of that. So all this happened in 2005, and this has been my crazy roller coaster with my periods. Going, coming. Anyway, they put me on the same contraceptive pills and things like that. So initially that worked, but then afterwards, it was not something which I could take all the time. And then it used to become so difficult after I stopped those bad periods, those tablets and things like that. So it's been crazy. I've had some nice memories that I have had pain-free kind of periods, but I've had lots of traumatic experiences with periods. And emotionally, you don't have anybody to talk to or support you at those points. And whatever support, I think as we started working, we could talk and share with friends, which was just that much. And whatever I got support from the medical field, that's it. But I think emotionally, things have, I don't know how that has, it would have definitely had a great impact for whatever I was going through. So, truly don't know. By then, yeah, in between that and 1996, I also had a slip disc and all of that. So I had a fall in 1993, and then a confirmed slip disc was happening at 1996 November. So ಅದ್ರ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಅದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಸೇರ್ಕೊಂಡು I really don't know. uh,
Thank you so
Listening
much.
to all of this brings a lot of memories. And so I used to always, because of whatever I went through, not having that support, not having that kind of environment where we could talk about it or discuss, there was nobody to discuss at home. My grandmother was, after all, my grandmother. She was so much older. She was already in her 70s, I think. Yeah, she was like 19. She was almost saying, so ಯಾರು ಹೇಳಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. And I think during these periods and all, I used to ask my grandmother, what is this, Amma? What am I going through with all these so much? She said for her, uh, once she got her periods within 15 days, and she was so, my grandfather also was worried, what is this, what is happening? And that was it. She had only once, she had her periods coming in at 2 weeks later, 15 days later. And I think after that, she never got her period. So it was like very quick for her to, she didn't go through any major issues for her periods to stop. It sort of stopped naturally without any much challenges of missed periods or delayed periods or any of those kind of things she didn't go through. So the ಯಾರು ಇಲ್ವೂ ಇಲ್ಲ ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ಗೂ ಅದಕ್ಕೂ. So whatever I could go through, I think I've tried to ensure that my children get more information and support, things like that.
Thank you so much, Suchi ma'am. Big round of applause to you. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, Smita ji.
Yeah. Concerning periods, I got it at the when I was in 7th standard, but I don't remember much in the period problem. Okay, because I used to get back pain slightly, so 2 days before I will know periods is coming. So that kind of a thing. Periods as such was never painful or traumatic. So after I got married, that is when other things started happening, like fertility treatment, so many things, and emotions going haywire. But I never connected any of this to my period thing. So the pain of that it is coming, and 2 days before that's coming, once I started doing asanas and all that, it started releasing. Like, that was not towards the end. So the pain used to be released. So I will not know. It used to come on the day, and it was very smooth. So only the menopause time that I started, realizing. By then the information also started pouring in. A lot of knowledge, awareness. So then I started connecting that yes, I am having migraine. Before 2 days, so I never connected the migraine and this one. So a lot of connection happened towards the end of my period time, the last 10 years of my period time. But then I just took it. Okay, that's the way it is. It will come like that. That's all. After menopause is where when I went back and started analyzing and putting it in places, and why the fertility would have come, why the emotional traumas had come, why the headaches were there, why the migraines were there. So much of things started. I started understanding. Till then, it was bliss. I'm getting the periods and it's coming. And so one Brahmin friend used to tell me about her problems having the periods, why they have to, sit, not go to the kitchen and all that. I will coolly say, it's okay, doesn't matter. You go and rest and have your own good time in the room. Don't fight with them about all these, dogmas and all that. Just have a chill time. So it was like that, very carefree kind of a thought process. Now when I say there was a parallel thing going, side by side, which never realized it. Now I'm connecting it and understanding my past properly. So I'm not able to say much about my period time. I can only talk about the connection that I could make now. So that is my story of me and my periods.
Thank you, Smita ji. Thank you. Big round of applause to you. Yes, Gaji ma'am.
Yeah, I think I started, of course, like Suchi said, I have to go back and try to recollect whatever I can. I think I started having my periods when I was 14 years old. I was in 10th standard at that time. And my grandmother, that's my mother's mother, had just passed away. So I remember the timing very clearly. In our houses, I belong to a very orthodox family, but there isn't much celebration or anything. The only practice was they did some aarti, ಹೊಸ ಬಟ್ಟೆ ಹೊಲಿಸೋರು ಒಂದಿನ ಆರತಿ ಮಾಡಿ, and we had to sit away from, no entry to the kitchen, no touching the bed. ಒಂದು ಚಾಪೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಚಾಪೆ and bedsheet. That's it. So I used to hate that for that reason. And I had very severe bleeding and stomach pain right from the beginning. For many years I had it. So the only thing, I used to have my periods very regularly, 30 to 33 days cycle, very regular, and heavy bleeding I used to have for 8 days. That was the most of the time I used to have that. There was no problem with the regularity. I think only towards menopause, it became around 20 to 23 days cycle. And the bleeding also reduced to some extent because the heavy bleeding used to be there only for 4 days. After that, it used to taper up. But I still used to have spotting for 8 days. And menopause was very sudden. I think I was 50 at that time, close to. I had to go to Bombay to ನನ್ನ ಮಗಂದು ಮದುವೆಗೋಸ್ಕರ I had to talk to my daughter-in-law's parents. So I was very worried. ಮದುವೆ ಡೇಟ್ ಇಡಿಸ್ಕೊಂಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು with this irregular period ಏನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂತ. But surprisingly, I didn't have my periods after that at all. So it wasn't any, and even the whatever people talk about na menopause ಅಷ್ಟು ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, depression ಎಲ್ಲ, I was waiting for that to stop because of the heavy bleeding. So when it stopped, of course the hot flashes I used to have, but other than that I didn't have any problem. Of course I had severe pigmentation of my skin after that, not at that time. Maybe 2-3 years after that I developed a lot of pigmentation. My face had become almost black. So that used to bother me for a while. Not on itself, when people used to ask me, ಯಾಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ಕಪ್ಪಾಗಿದೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಖ ಎಲ್ಲ ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಅಂತ. I tried some dermatologists for a while, but the medication they gave was too much. ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ಎದ್ದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಒಂದು ಹಚ್ಕೋ, 7 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ಒಂದು ಹಚ್ಕೋ, ಸನ್ರೈಸ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೇನೋ ಹಚ್ಕೋ, 12 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಹಚ್ಕೋ. So I said no, I stopped everything and I stopped bothering about it also. So that was it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gayatri ma'am. So now I think, see, why this whole part of sharing was done is because there are so many similarities, no? Even though we had a diversified menstrual history, we all had our own share of experiences, which we all can connect, right? So here, of course, there is no there's nowhere where we can say that, okay, physical well-being was important. Of course, we all started doing it. That is when things started aligning better. And there was also an influence of emotions on our menstrual cycle, because I think when we have discussed in our previous session about how the way I keep my mind, what is internal dialogue, that also impacts my hormonal release, and which directly and indirectly impacts my menstrual cycle. And then there is also that we have also seen that when I'm going through too much of personal things to process, it has somewhere impacted my menstrual cycle, right? So I mean, here I think the whole purpose of this sharing was to connect those dots, because see, we couldn't connect it when we were going through it because of lack of awareness, and we didn't know that there's a connection existing. Very simple, right? So now when we're sharing about our history, we know why that happened, right? I think that's truly beautiful, that now, because we are realizing it, I think, as Smitaji beautifully said, yes, I didn't have a painful periods, but then there was a lot of other parallel things that I was experiencing, like irritability was always there with all of us. At least it was there with me, and I'm sure everybody agrees. And then there was also that uh, pain, whether it's a severe back pain, it was a cramp, or as Anita said, hydration part. And there was also this beautiful thing called clots, which were constantly flowing with it. So basically there are a lot of things that have played a role in our menstrual health, right? I mean, the surprising thing for me always was that, I never related all of them. And when I had some issue with the menstrual cycle, I used to be referred to gynecologist, and gynecologist would treat me isolating me as just my gynec problem. How many of you can relate to it? I mean, no disrespect to them or no ignorance. I mean, they were also equally ignorant like me. Then I started asking myself a question. Now, what is the point for me to go to someone who is as good as me? Only think that I get is a prescription. Because everything else that she was already saying, I was already doing. But then still, it didn't make any change in my menstrual health. How many of you can go through this? How many of you can relate to it? Right? So, we are all doing what we were doing. And when we go to a doctor, the only thing more that we get is a prescription. Is that changing? No. It is only temporarily solving the problem. I think that is when I started digging more into menstrual health. Not because I wanted to help anybody. First, I wanted to help my own self. Right? And then,
I just want to add here one thing. It continues to be the same with the gynecologist. Even today, when you go, they will just put it across to hormonal imbalance, weight, and lifestyles, and they'll still give you a prescription. Or they'll say when the prescription doesn't work, like it hasn't worked for Tunga, so they will just say that you just have to make lifestyle changes. You can't take tablet, so you do what you have to do. You have to just bear with it. Okay, so when you have very bad pain, you just take a tablet and for pain and for that and just do it. And I think what is nice that I must say is in the last couple of periods, she has not been taking her meftalspas, hardly any tablets. Like it's come to 1 or 2 tablets. Otherwise, it will be like 10 tablets in the whole listing. So that's the only like I can see that change coming in because even today that's the same story which is happening. Because I think it's so important for us to connect to what is the way and modalities of treatment which is happening today, so that at least we are able to educate or support other women and girls going through what they're going through with their periods. I think still continues to be the same. Though everything else is evolved, so much of knowledge is there. I think it still stays the
I
same.
agree, Suchi ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for your valuable input.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Suchi ma'am.
I cut your thought flow when you were talking. I just thought that this was something which came up in my mind to say that even today, that's the modality of a thing with experienced 40 years or plus experience of being a gynecologist. So they would have heard so much of histories and they're still treating in the same way. I think that is a very sad day that medical fraternity has not gone beyond I think. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think I can also, I mean, that thought of intrusion by Suchi ma'am also, reminded me my menstrual history that, when I used to go to gynecologist when I was, I think I was in my medical school then she would say that, no, your body will start adapting once you get married. Right. And then after marriage again I went and then she said that no, once you have children you will have it, normalize. Then after kids again I went and then she said no, your body will adapt. Then I started realizing, there is no solution for it. And that is when I started, doing my own research on menstrual well-being, because I think that is where what I'm trying to connect through this menstrual series. Because I mean, we all sit and hope that someday it is going to change, but then there was literally no change in my menstrual health, right? So I think when I started having this in the late 30s, when I started having this again popping a pill, I felt okay, nobody is going to find a solution to my problem. So if it is my problem, then it is also my responsibility to, you know, uh, find a solution for my own problem. I think that is when this whole thing started happening. And that is when I started connecting how your emotions are playing a role, and how your thought process and physical well-being and lifestyle changes. I think all that one after the other started coming into my life to enhance my own quality of life, right? So having understood all of this, I think what I started realizing is that, how many of you can relate to this, right? I'm sure, we have dealt with emotions, we have dealt with mindset, and then we have also dealt with lifestyle routine changes. All that said and done, which I was already doing, there was something else that was missing in my life. Even though I was eating healthy, right? I was having a, clean diet. I had my own way of, managing it well. I felt somewhere my nutrition was not taken care to the need of my body at that age, right? See, whatever healthy eating, whatever nutrition I was managing, that was appropriate to the age that I was. Like, I mean, with every stage, we also have to evolve in terms of holistically, right? The amount of physical well being I take on, what I do at 20, I cannot keep doing it at 40 and then still expect my body to perform at the full potential. I think when I'm saying nutrition, it is about the way I provided nutrition to my body at 30 is not helping me sustain my nutrition at 40. At every age, at every duration, every timeline, every need of my body and me completely changes people. I think that transition was not happening with me, right? So now we want to understand how nutrition also plays a huge role in one's menstrual cycle, right? See, we have understood how emotions play a role, how your lifestyle well-being plays a role. However, nutrition is something that is very little known to the medical fraternity also, right? So this gap needs to be brought in so that we can still continue to have a healthy menstrual health. I am not talking about, you know uh, that it is going to solve all of it. No, it is also playing a major role in our menstrual health, right? A growing body of evidence suggests diets rich in omega 3 fatty acids, calcium, vitamin D, right? I'm sure, uh, over a period of time, I have realized how important is omega 3 fatty acids in my body. And then, calcium and vitamin D. Is that all? No, there are more, right? And low in animal fat, salt, and caffeine may reduce the risk of troublesome PMS symptoms. Okay, here premenopausal or postmenopausal symptoms, right? So all of that, when we are having our regular periods also, before the periods, if we manage all of this well, so it doesn't mean that okay, only during the periods I will take this and then ignore through the month. No, if you have managed your nutrition well through the month, then you will see the results by the time you have your periods. Now I want to pause and ask this question to Sujata. See, you said you did yoga for 10 years. You started taking care of your emotional well-being over the last 1 year. And how, but then you started seeing maximum benefit. once you started something else. What is that, Sujata? Please go ahead.
Means I was doing my own sadhana, then only I started seeing that one, and doing the yoga also. We had the sessions about the nutrition part also, so I was taking care of that nutrition. I forgot that at that time, but I took the nutrition course also there. So on that also I was doing that one. So overall, yes, as you said, the whole part was there, holistic, as you said. Then and then only, yes.
Thank you, Sujata. Yeah. So basically, it is not one thing. What I'm trying to take, pass the message is, it's not just what you do to your physical well-being. It is not just what you do to your emotional. It is also not just how much you are aware of your menstrual health. It is also about bringing in the nutrition, role of nutrition into your diet, into your menstrual health. So that is the reason why holistic happy you is, giving much more result to everybody than when we do isolatedly one thing, right? So I'm sure we have all been into the physical fitness journey for more than decades, right, in our own way. I think it's not just, okay, only this helps, only that helps. No, everything helps. Only thing is we have to keep bringing in the missing link to get the complete output, to experience the maximum benefit, right? The whole purpose of doing this is that bringing everything together so that you start seeing the result. Is it the only thing that helped? No, it is collectively everything. But you have to be very mindful that if one thing is also missing, the output is not matching the effort, people. So that is when the frustration kicks in. That is when we feel that, okay, nothing really helps, and we start giving up on our own self, right? So it's not just, effort that matters. Knowing in which direction I need to invest that effort also makes a huge difference, right? So wish someone would have made us realize that very young. Don't we all think we would have had a better menstrual history than what we all have today? I think the bigger responsibility lies on each one of us now to educate the younger generation that how, missing any one of it or all of it can also lead to a nightmare menstrual health, right? So we say that, you have to, and of course hygiene matters, of course, physical well-being matter, lifestyle changes matter, nutrition matter, emotional health matters, and as Suchi ma'am rightly pointed out, support system for a person also matters, right? I think bringing all of them together will only help you to celebrate your life to the fullest, because who you are hasn't really changed with any number of years of being who you are, right? So I think the history keeps repeating because I haven't really understood what needs to be brought in, right? If you ask anyone in the current generation, I see that PCOS is like everybody's problem. So that clearly indicates that, something that I experienced at the fag end of 30, people have started experiencing at the fag end of 20. Right? I'm sure my parents, my mom would have experienced what I experienced at much later. Right? So things have not really, changed because the whole menstrual history has been fast forward, and I hear in the current scenario that people started accepting that at 30 menopause is expected, and that is so called normal, and it's been more than a year that you haven't had menstrual periods at 30. So just see how much of impact it has caused, right, into the whole womanhood. That is my biggest concern, right? So now, when you tell them, you have to do this, you have to do that, there's always something that is missing. So that is when they are not seeing the result. So they just wish to go under the knife. Can you all relate now? Why we wish to go under the knife? When we could all have still retained our feminine energy and still performed to best of our abilities. But then we were not having any other option because we couldn't connect. And so called other people also were ignorant as I was. Right? So I was looking for a help in a blind space where everybody was blindly hoping, not helping. Right? So I think that led to the research on my own menstrual health and help me help my own self, right? So what is really important is focusing on your nutrition, especially omega-3 fatty acid, B12, calcium, and very important is that avoiding salt and caffeine. Okay, and excess salt will also lead to a lot of other complications during your menstrual period, right, and through the day as well. And not to miss on the sugar part, right, excessive, because you will have more craving because there's so much of an emotional void that gets created. We end up hogging onto the sweets. How many of you can relate to it? Yeah, so sugar is another culprit which adds or which covers up our emotional void, which otherwise we would have taken up action to work on it. Right? We feel that, oh, I have eaten sweet, now I am good. But then the underlying cause still remains, people. So when it will show up again? In the next cycle. So it's only a facade that I had learned to deal with my emotional void. Right? Are we all together here? Okay. Avoiding salt can help reduce fluid retention, abdominal bloating, and breast swelling and pain. I think I did speak about my breast tenderness during my menstrual cycle. Okay, I think that was the first clue I would always have. And over the years of my work on my own self, I realized, I was eating on all salt rich diet, not just during the period, but then through the day. I mean, throughout the year, I would eat because chips was my favorite diet. My emotional craving would also be satisfied by eating a chips. How many of you can relate to it? If not chips, then you would reach out to some form of a sweet, sugary sweet, right? So now, if you want to avoid all of that, I think it's very, very important to manage your salt intake. High caffeine intake can cause irritability, people, and poor sleep and menstrual cramps. I've heard many people say this to me, and I'm sure you have also heard when people say that I go through a detox process of fasting, but I have my first cup of coffee or tea. How many of you heard it and seen it? Right? How many of us have really done it ourselves? So now, where is that it is helping you? How is your body detoxing? Isn't it adding more to your existing irritability of gut? Yes. So, because of, see, when you are going through your menstrual cycle, you're already a chemical cocktail, people. Because there's so much of hormonal variation that happens in the body, right? On top of that, I'm triggering more by adding more caffeine to my body. Can you all relate? How we create a tornado in an already existing volcano situation. I think there's no better comparison or analogy that I can give you, right? I'm already in like a volcano myself. Now I'm creating a tornado in it because I'm adding high caffeine, which always triggers more of a neurological symptoms because it directly impacts my nervous system, and my nervous system is already on the fire because there's so much of hormonal ups and downs that is happening. So then what kind of a quality hormone release or what kind of a balance you can expect in your body? Good, good. I think sugar also does the same work. When we take in more sugar during that time, it creates more bloated feeling, and it also creates lot of hormonal imbalance because the with the hormonal imbalance there's already so much ups and downs in my emotion. Whenever there is a sugar peak, I feel good. Whenever sugar level drops in my blood, I am more crazier than what I started. Can we all relate here? Yeah? Good. Shall we move further? A healthy diet is high in vegetables, right? Fruit and nuts and seeds. And of course, if you're someone who enjoys eating fish, that is also good, right? So, and what I have realized, even though, the healthy diet looks like this, when I'm going through my cycles, I will have no energy to do all of this to continue to do it, right? So people think that nutrition plays a role only when you are going through a cycle. Not really, people. You are very much healthy and you have all the time under the sun, or you can prioritize your health when you are not going through menstrual cycle to manage this healthy diet. So it is not that okay, I have my cycles for 3 4 days, so that is the time I have to cover all this. No, because that is the time none of us will be having a awareness or energy or motivation to do all of this. How you can stay motivated to do all this healthy eating diet even during your menstrual cycle is when you manage your rest of the 20 plus days by eating your healthy diet, by having enough vegetables, enough fruits, and nuts and seeds, which are rich in omega 3 if you are a vegetarian. Okay, and so fishes also helps you in doing that. Other source of omega 3 foods such as flax and chia seeds, because they also play a huge role in our menstrual omega 3 facet. And then low fat dairy food, that is low or high, it is up to you, but then dairy food always helps us, right? Protein such as legumes and then eggs and variety of whole grains, right? These are the things that will help us have healthiest nutrition possible, right? So now here I think I mean, in the next session, we will go, nutrition by nutrition, how each element of nutrition needs to be given a priority for our own well-being. For our, I mean, this is not just limited to menstrual health. It is, if I'm managing all of this, it is going to help my whole health because all the other, areas of my overall well-being can also be dealt with well if I start taking in all this. But then that we will start in our next session, because now we are very clear about our own menstrual history, where we can connect the nutrition, right? Otherwise we won't really take that much of a time to introspect on missing links, because we all need to take the time to analyze, process, and then accept, right? So I think we will pause. So I think I gave you a, I think it gave everybody a glimpse of how nutrition could have helped my menstrual health well, right? So I think that was the whole purpose of today's session. that how nutrition plays a major role, and not just alone, but how holistic health plays a huge role in our overall well-being. I think that is how this holistic happy you is created. I think the every segment of health we are bringing in, we are realizing how holistic health is, well-being is more important than just focusing on one isolated area and treating that as a single entity by disconnecting from everything else around, is the drive home point. So I think we will get started hearing your wow moment for the day. Yes, Sushma, please go ahead. Yeah, Sujata, you're there? Go ahead. Yeah, please.
Hi. Yes. So I thought everything should be taken care of, that mental, physical, nutritional, that is my wow moment. Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Sujata. Big round of applause to you. Yes, Anita, please go ahead.
Yeah, hearing everyone's flashback was so nice.
Thank you, Anita. Big round of applause to you. Thank you. Yes, Suchi ma'am.
And I'm so glad that we get to hear that the whole thing is more holistic. It's on different aspects, and how nutrition also plays a role. And as you picked up this topic, I was just thinking how much of nutrition work has been done, where ultimately Tunga is also seeing differences in the last couple of sync. And I think at least that's a much better thing. So I think all the years of consistently taking multiple supplements and things like that, working on her own emotional health that she's been working on, and how things have happened. And of course, eating. I was just thinking, really missing Anuradha here, and where she could have added her own experiences and her way of doing things through this whole series of menstruation. I think it would have been really beautiful. Nice to know that nutrition, how important it is, and how it is plays a thing. I think I'm really looking forward to it. I did miss a couple of slides, or maybe one slide I missed after the high caffeine one. I did see that one thing, so that's something which I'll have to pick up. And nice. I'm looking forward to understanding all these aspects, which will make a lot of difference. ಅದ್ರ ಹಿಂದಿಂದೊಂದು ವಿಟಮಿನ್ B6 that one. That one before.
Yeah, thank you, Suchi ma'am. So big round of applause to you. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, Smitaji.
Yeah, my wow moment was that, everybody's journey is so different and so much of difficulties, so I was always under the impression mine is not so bad, considering my period journey. But when my friends used to have the pain and all that, it was a laughing matter for me. So now I started realizing the difficulties of the other people, and so I know a lot of empathy I feel, and understanding of different personalities and how it is happening. Mine is not an isolated thing. There are so many different aspects that I can learn from others also. And that was my wow moment, because otherwise we never get to hear such personal journey of period or their personal issues and how it could be related. So this was quite a eye-opening for me, and it will give me a lot of impact on understanding people also, empathizing, especially the empathizing fact, which no it's a different thing. Like, it can happen. Yes, you can also have this kind of understanding and accepting as it is what it helped me in this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Smitaji. Big round of applause to you. Yes, Gayatri ma'am.
I think understanding it holistically, though I have passed through that stage, there are many times when our young girls in school, they complain and we tell them it's something which happens to everyone. Why are you making such a big fuss? And things like that. We can empathize with them better. And as you said, nutrition throughout the month. It's not just during the periods. That was my wow moment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, man. So here, basically, you know, we cannot isolate one aspect of a person and then say that, okay, if you work on this, then everything else is going to be right, right? So everything needs to be harmoniously work together so that I stay harmoniously happy, right? So whether it is your physical well-being, emotional well-being, social well-being, and spiritual well-being, that is knowing who I am, equally important. Yes, guys, ma'am, please go ahead.
No, I have a request. Since many of our teachers are still young, I think taking a session for them would be really very helpful, Rashmi. Thank you.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you. So having all this awareness is equally important. And then many times what I also see that many times we also are aware, but then there is no willingness to work on that, right? See, knowing is not doing, people. Again and again I repeat this because when we feel that wow moment, no, we feel that now I know, so I'm doing from tomorrow. But then to start through the journey itself is a huge process by itself. So knowing is not doing. Of course, all these years we had a reason that, oh, I didn't know. But really, after knowing, am I doing? Is a big question that only I will be able to answer, right? So, uh, reaching to the right knowledge is an effort by itself. I agree, right? Because it took me so many years of work from the time I had my menstrual, cycle to what I'm going through now. I mean, it took so many years of work for me to attain that knowledge. Now I'm willing to give it. But then, is that alone changing their menstrual health? No. Because knowledge is only one step climbed, right? You have your own steps to climb because you have to engage in all the other dimensions of your life, right? So when I hear people say that, okay, now my menstrual health is better, it is not that you got the knowledge and then things changed. No. It is that you have been in the journey for many years. That is when your things changed. I think that also needs to be a drive home point for everybody because that is equally important as acquiring the knowledge. Because acquiring the knowledge takes some effort, but then practicing that takes 10x effort from each one of us in whatever.
Absolutely.
So
I
I think
think this whole thing about knowledge is something which I bring in into lots of my conversations with people, whether it's family or it is at work with the colleagues or with the families that we work with. So I was just telling them it's not sufficient. Knowledge is good. Knowledge is powerful only when you put it into action and start looking at it. Until then, just knowing is not powerful. Doing it and keeping on trying it is what is powerful. So if you want to achieve things, you got to put in that effort, and then you can at least tell us, give us a feedback, we can see the progress, and then we can get back. So knowledge is powerful only when you do it for consistently over a period of time that you can see. And I think that's become a funda for quite some time now that I've been talking to people to say, do it, only then it is good. Which I tell my husband also. ಎಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತು ಗೊತ್ತು ನಾನು ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅದು ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ. He keeps saying, don't talk until you do, and that's when you will get it. I think wonderful topic, Kana.
that's the beauty of this holistic happy tribe. we are not just learning, we are also practicing it. I think that is why we are all able to see success, right? Otherwise, you sign up for any program, they just give you gyan, and then the responsibility of practicing it is on your shoulder. But here, I mean, the whole purpose is here that, I give you GAN, but then parallelly practice it. And then when we do it, we really understand, how it can change the way my life is. I think the quality of life is magnanimously improved. I'm sure, within a span of 1 year, months, people have seen the difference only because you're not just learning, but you're also practicing it because you're made to practice it. You like it or you don't like it. Many times you don't even know why you're practicing, you're just practicing because it's told to you. I think many times the practice is brought in first, then the knowledge is given. And other times the knowledge is given first and then, the practices have come in. I think that is why, each one of us have, experienced better health, better quality of health, and better happiness, and we have also been sustaining it. I think that is the true beauty of holistic happy you. So thank you everybody for your wonderful participation, and immense gratitude to each one of you, because you gave me the opportunity to share my experience and my learning of decades, so that someone else can get benefit out of it. So thank you so much. Have a blessed weekend. Take care. See you all. Thank you. We will continue the nutrition part next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.